Welcome to fixitforgetit.com, where projects and ideas come together.
My name is John Leffler from fixitforgetit.com. I appreciate you stopping by. This is the second video in a 3-video series. In the first video we had a look at how to install PVC posts. In this second video we're going to cover how to repair holes and cracks in vinyl siding, and the third video will be about installing PVC handrails. I tried to find a video that showed how to do an invisible repair on holes and cracks in vinyl siding. Looked all over the internet, I just could not find anything. I tried various things. Some worked fairly well. It really took a few years of me dabbling around with this to finally figure out this method that works extremely well. It's easy to do, it's inexpensive. I appreciate you stopping by, and we will get right into it, and I'm going to show you how to do this. From the previous railing that I took out, I have quite a mess here. I've already cleaned some of it up, but thought I'd grab this before I had it totally cleaned up. Pretty ratty. The guys that put this railing in originally, unfortunately, didn't drill some little holes and put some little stainless screws and countersink them into the railing or something, and then spackle over it back in there. Instead they just shot nails right into the siding, and of course it's cracked and split up. I'll show you the other side. I have it completely cleaned up, but we have at least 6 holes over here. Let's go look at the other side. Okay, this side I have cleaned up pretty well. We have 3 holes and a really bad crack here. I have this cleaned up fairly well. As it turns out, I had a little more damage than I thought. I have 2 holes there, another one there, another one there, one there, a real little one underneath that edge of vinyl, and then one just above that edge of vinyl. So I've got 7 altogether. So now that that's cleaned up, let's have a look at how we fix it. We're down on the workbench so I can show you the materials and tools that you will use. First thing you want to do is make sure the vinyl siding is real clean. I like to use this Castrol Super Clean Tough Task. This stuff comes in a big purple jug, a 1-gallon jug of concentrate. You can then water that down to whatever solution you need for your particular project. Many times you'll mix it at about 16 to 1, 16 parts water, 1 part concentrate. That stuff works very well. If you have some real heavy stuff that you need to start cleaning off of the vinyl, you may want to use a brass bristled brush, and the brass bristles are stiff enough that they do a real nice job of cleaning, yet they're soft enough that they won't really do any damage to the vinyl. Once you get the heavier soot or whatever sort of mess you may have on your vinyl siding off, then you may want to kind of follow up on the lighter stuff with a stiff bristled nylon brush. Once that's all clean and you have dried it, you then may want to clean the vinyl to prep it before you apply your Bondo All-Purpose Putty, just get a clean rag or a clean paper towel and wipe it down with a little denatured alcohol. This is a Vargo Outdoors bottle, and these things are fantastic. You can squeeze these, shake them around, toss them in your toolbox. They just do not leak. You also will want to use the denatured alcohol to clean your Bondo and repair once everything is totally sanded and the pattern retraced and everything is ready to paint. Just before you paint, you may want to wipe it down again with the denatured alcohol. So once everything's all cleaned up, the next step is applying your Bondo All-Purpose Putty. This stuff is fantastic. It hardens up nicely. It's easy to sand and paint. I love this stuff. I use it on many projects and repairs around the home. There's a gray putty in this can. You can just take a blob of that putty and apply it to a piece of cardboard. Just take some old cereal boxes or something, or cardboard box, and cut up some squares. And you can use a popsicle stick. Just get some putty, put a blob on there, and this white cream hardener comes stored up in the lid. You want to use very little of this. So if you have a blob of putty that's about a third the size of a golf ball, you would want just a little, at the most a pea-size dab of this hardener, because it does set up very quickly. You'll probably only have about a 1 minute open time to use this putty before it starts to harden up on you. And then you can just use a popsicle stick, stir it together, scoop off some, use a popsicle stick to apply it right to the hole that's in your vinyl siding. And then once the Bondo putty totally hardens up, you're going to have some that's protruding out from the wall a bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. Just use a wood chisel and start trimming down the heavy stuff. Get it down close to the vinyl. Once you have that trimmed down close to the vinyl, you can just use a sanding block, or if you'd like, an electric sander. Sand it down smooth. Once you have that putty sanded down smooth and it's even with the surface of the vinyl, your next step is going to be to retrace some of the wood grain pattern into the Bondo. I used to use this tiny little wood carver's gouge, and I've gotten away from that now. Now I prefer, and this really works great. You have real good control over it, and it does a real nice job. This is a dental pick. It's actually for scraping tartar off of teeth, and it's real rigid, has a nice sharp point, and it works fantastic. So once you have retraced your wood grain pattern in the vinyl patch job that you've done, your Bondo, you want to just brush it off good, and as I mentioned, just use the denatured alcohol to wipe it down. Then, this is a can of custom blended paint that I got from Home Depot, and they do a great job of color match. I just took in a little piece of extra vinyl that I had. They scanned it and then electronically, and used that data from the scan to mix up a custom blended paint, and it just matches perfectly. And this is what they have. You will see near the paint desk there, there'll just be a little display rack there, and it'll have a bunch of these little sample jars in there. You do want to make sure that you get flat paint. You do not want to get semi-gloss or eggshell. Something like that is going to stick out like a sore thumb on vinyl. If you get a flat paint, it should look real nice when you're finished. Anyway, this thing was under $5. So, you know, depending on where you live, it may be a little more than that, but it'll be well worth it, because on jobs like this where you're just doing a little repair of vinyl siding, even one of these little tiny jars of paint would last years. So hopefully that will save you some money, that little tip. Once you have everything all cleaned up with your vinyl and or with your alcohol, and you're ready to paint the vinyl, this is kind of an important bit of information. You do not want to use a real stiff bristled brush. I just use a little artist brush, and this thing is just feather soft, and the bristles are very close together, and it's a bristle construction that just makes a real nice smooth application of the paint. And I show you in the video a little bit of how I go about brushing the paint on. So that's pretty much what you need to achieve a real nice invisible vinyl siding repair. I hope that all of this makes sense, and that I have shown you everything that you're going to need. This is exactly what I use, and I've done quite a few of these repairs on my vinyl siding. So I have a little of the putty here. That's the gray stuff. That little white dot there is the hardener. Mix that up. Once you stir that in together, you need to move out quickly or it will start to harden on you. Just put a little dot on. Try to keep from smearing it out too far away from the hole and getting it out on the vinyl, because everything you get on there you're going to have to clean up. On these bigger holes, try to push a little back in there. And you want to have this putty stand out from the hole a bit in case it pulls back. It doesn't usually tend to pull back much. And then we will come back and proceed with that. It's already starting to harden on me. Yep, just that fast. I don't know if you can see that. Clumping up and hardening already. Seems like you only have about a minute or so to work with that. So I will make up more, do these other holes, and then I'll show you how to clean that up and get it ready for painting. The first part of this repair, I just use a wood chisel. Make sure it's nice and sharp. You have to be careful with this. If you lose control of it, you can gouge the vinyl and make a bad situation worse. But this Bondo multi-purpose putty, as it hardens up, you'll wind up usually, if you thoroughly cover these holes and cracks, you'll have a little buildup. You could just sand it down, but it'll clog your sandpaper up rather quickly. So I will just take a wood chisel, and if you cut a little bit of an angle coming down as you shave this off, you can start to get the majority of this buildup off of here with your wood chisel. Then once you have that shaved down a bit, You could probably use a knife or something as well. I just find that the wood chisel is pretty easy to control and does a nice job. Then once you get that buildup off of there, you can proceed with your sander and do the final sanding. I now have the Bondo All-Purpose Putty trimmed down a bit using the wood chisel. So we're ready to start the sanding. And for that, I have this Harbor Freight. It's a multi-function power tool. I really like these little small sanding heads that you can put on these. You can get the sandpaper in various grits. I use a finer grit on this. And these you can get on eBay and at Harbor Freight and elsewhere. Various attachments you can put on these things. I will keep a little container in here. I'll get it open that has sandpaper in it. And you can just get a couple of plastic jars and put other attachments in them. So this has worked very well for me, and that will speed up the sanding process. So we're going to go after that with this sander and get it smoothed down, and then we'll move on to the next phase. This is just another little money saving tip for you. You can see that the point of this sandpaper is wearing out. You don't want to stay on that too long. It can wear out the Velcro fasteners on your little sanding head. But something you can do to just kind of continue to use this is you can just rotate that head. You can either trim this off with some scissors or not. In my case, I won't need to because I just want to get back up on that point. I'm bringing around one of the rear points of the sandpaper, tossing it up here in the front. It's still in good shape, so I can now continue to use this pad since I'm going to be getting up here and riding the very tip on these things to sand them down. So I'll be able to rotate that and use 3 sides of this sandpaper instead of just one. Here's one of the repairs all sanded down, and if you can imagine having a large smooth area like that right in the midst of a surrounding of artificial wood grain that's traced into this vinyl, and typically that's the case. Most vinyl is going to have an artificial wood grain pattern in it. This large smooth area, if you just painted over it, would stand out and it just wouldn't look right. So you want to try to retrace that wood grain pattern into this all-purpose putty before you paint it. This works quite well, and you just come in and come over to where the wood grain still exists, and you just start dragging it and maybe move it up and down a little, maybe stop there and come here and pick up, pull over again. So if you just keep dragging that along and recreate some wood grain pattern in there, once you paint it, it looks so much better. Doesn't jump out and grab your eye that way. And I will show you how that looks after I get the pattern retraced. And then we'll have a look at the final product when we paint it. As you can see, I have now retraced some of that wood grain pattern into the all-purpose putty. I also went just a little outside the perimeter of that putty and started retracing some of the wood grain into the vinyl itself, because as you sand the putty down, you're going to inadvertently get out at least some onto the vinyl and knock that existing wood grain pattern off. So you want to start out, you know, half inch beyond the putty itself, start dragging those lines across. And this, once again, little dental pick is what I use to trace that in there. But you'll see that once I paint that, that'll blend in so well. It'll really look nice. On this part of the repair, this crack is pretty bad, and if I just try to put a skim coat across the top of this, it's just going to crack again. It'll be too flimsy. So I'm going to use this little Dremel tool with a fiber cut wheel on it, and I'll just come in and sort of where I've made that little, let's see, it's so bright it's hard for me to tell. There we go. See that little score that I put right there? That's about how wide I will open that up. So I'll open that up across here, up through there, and up through there, so that I can raise that flap a little and backfill it a bit, and then float it into that enlarged crack all the way around there. It'll hold much better that way. I now have this side cleaned up and ready to go. Sometimes you will find as you get into these projects there's more damage than you thought. Right there's a good example. That one's really bad. Those are, top one there is fairly bad. Bottom one's kind of typical. So this is really going to be a challenge, but hopefully we will be up to it. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to patch these up with putty right now, and then we'll continue on. I now have this side patched, sanded, and the wood grain lines retraced in the putty. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repairs on this side, and hopefully you can see the lines sort of retraced in there. It's a fine line using this dental pick between dragging a little groove through this putty and out onto the vinyl. You need to push a little harder, of course, when you're on the vinyl because it's a harder material. You need to back way up and drag this thing fairly easily across the putty even after it's hardened, or you will pierce through. This Bondo All-Purpose Putty does seem to hold up quite well over time. I have some of these repairs that are probably at least 10 years old, other places on the house, and they have held up very well. As we get ready to finish this project and do the painting, it's important to use the correct brush. This is a little artist brush, and these bristles are quite stiff, a little larger bristle. You do not want to use a brush like that, because as you stroke the paint on, it'll just be streaky, and it'll thin it out in areas it shouldn't, clump it up too thick in areas that it shouldn't. What you really want to have is a very soft, fine bristled little brush like this. So that's just extremely soft to the touch. And you want to get a small amount of paint on there and kind of maybe start in the center and work out this way, and start in the center and work out that way. So the bulk of the paint is more in the center of the repair as you first start painting, and then finish it up with some soft strokes where you're pulling up off as you're coming out, lightly feathering it as you go back in, and just keep working at it that way. Then you should wind up with a fairly smooth finish. We're over here on the right side of the house now. The USA Vinyl Weatherables handrail is installed. The vinyl siding repair is complete. Turned out great. You cannot tell where the siding was repaired. It's exactly what we're looking for, an invisible repair where the holes or cracks that you have in your vinyl can be repaired and no one will ever know anything ever happened to it. As you can see, Turned out great. Can't see any cracks or dings, holes. Everything's good now. So we will go over to the left side of the house and see how that turned out. Here we are on the left side of the house. I have the Weatherables PVC handrails installed on this side, just like the right side. And that project, it went quite well. I have a couple of other videos that will show you how to install the Weatherables PVC railing and posts. As you can see, the vinyl repair over here came out very nice. I'm real happy with that. You really can't tell where the repairs were done. This side was a little worse than the other side. Had fewer holes, but they were larger and much worse. Came out real nice. So I hope that this repair technique will work as well for you as it did for me. I really appreciate you coming along and watching as I went through the steps on this repair. Some of the products that I use to do this repair job I will have linked in the description below. Those will be affiliate links. If you'd like to use those affiliate links, those will take you directly to the products. I will have the description there, and you may use those descriptions to look the products up for yourself. So thanks again, and I really hope that this repair technique works for you. This is John from fixitforgetit.com. We appreciate you stopping by.